and welcome to the Last Looks podcast, a show where we catch up with talented hairstylists and makeup artists in the film and television industry. We'll pick their super creative brains and find out all the good stuff. Join me, your host, Jamie Lee, in finding out what's what in the hair and makeup departments around the world.
Now it's time for Kid Corner, where we shine a spotlight on artists who've created products with the film and television industry in mind. Products designed by artists for artists.
Hi, James.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. Now, you're a professional makeup artist, you work in the film industry, and you have done something we have all been hoping someone would do, and that is create a fleet of hair and makeup trailers that are specifically designed by makeup and hair professionals. What is your company called, and how did it come about?
Yeah, I'm James McKinnon, and with that little bit of McKinnon in my last name, I am Big Mac Trailers. In 1990, I was doing a little TV show called Providence, and a transportation guy came up to me and goes, "Do you want to buy one of my old makeup trailers?" And I had said, sure. He goes, "Yeah, you can rent it back to the show." And at that time, I don't think I was really ready to do something like that, so I would buy barber chairs and rent those back to the shows. And just a few years later, instead of buying an old used one, I ended up finding a gentleman to build me a brand fresh new one instead of making an old gross one look nice. So that kind of was the spark into Big Mac Trailers, which is pretty great. So it's an amazing opportunity for me to give back to my fellow union members, makeup artists and hairstylists, just to design and build trailers made by makeup and hair for makeup and hair artists.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, every time I think I move into a trailer, I'm like, who designed this? This does not work.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, most of the companies that design trailers, you know, they're not makeup artists. They're either transportation people and or just corporations or companies that are just giving you a box to use. I supply a box, but there is thought and care put into it of where the drawers are, how deep the drawers are, what's behind you, what's above you, what's around you, what can you reach, what can a short makeup artist reach, what can a tall makeup artist reach, do I put in a step stool for higher things? So, you know, hairstylists like their side of the trailer different, where the hair washing sink, where their shampoo bottles are going to be, you know, how big that drawer, the bottom drawers hold gallons, the next drawer holds 32 ounces, the top ones hold a little smaller stuff for hair, their bottles are all different sizes. So each side of the trailer, obviously, usually makeup is on the right, hair is on the left. I don't want to say I split the trailer in half, but the design is overall general, but then specific stations have different things for blow dryers and where a wig dryer would be, if it can have that in the trailer. Does it have a fire cabinet? Some of my trailers have some, not all, depending on the show. If it's an effectsy type trailer, they have a fire cabinet. If it's a more makeup beauty one, it's got different floors that I know aren't going to get ruined by blood and alcohol all over the place. So there's a lot of thought and process put into it. And then at the end of every show, I always ask him, for 10 years, I'm still asking is, here's a little sheet. What did you like? What did you dislike? And I can accumulate all those things. Some of the changes I can make instantly. Some I have to put into the next trailer design. And then each year, products, woods, plastics, lightweight stuff, green systems, try to put as much green products in there as well. Change every year. So from my first trailer to this current one, it has changed dramatically.
That's very cool. And how many trailers are in your fleet?
Well, I have currently 8, and I will be announcing a 9th trailer in about a month.
And now your trailers have interesting names. Tell me about that.
Yes, I am a big fan of the Universal classic monsters. I do have them tattooed all over my left arm. But when you rent a Big Mac trailer, you're renting them with the name of one of the classic monsters. So there is the Creature from the Black Lagoon trailer, there's Frankenstein, there's Wolfman, there's Dracula, there's Mummy, there's Phantom of the Opera, and then now coming out next month, there will be King Kong.
That is very, very cool. I like it. Now, what are some of the lucky projects that have had a Big Mac trailer in their base camp?
for 10 years, it's been quite a few, and I've been very, very lucky, and I appreciate all my clients and transportation departments and producers that requested on the shows. You know, Brian Sipe had it on Mandalorian. I had quite a few of them on Picard with me. They've been on with Aaron Kruger McCash and Mike McCash on most of the American Horror Story shows. Kim Green just happened to have one on Dead to Me. They've been on a few Marvel shows. They've been all over the place. I mean, the list is growing, and it's fun to watch. If you look at my website, which we'll talk about a little bit, at the bottom of the website, it shows all the shows and people that have rented from me in the past. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when an HOD wants to request your trailers through production, where can they find you online?
Yes, Big Mac Trailers is reachable, Instagram and Facebook, and it is at Big Mac Trailers. And my website is www.bigmactrailers.com. On there, you can check the availability of the trailer and then reach out to me via email to ask if I have one available. You can ask a producer to request it. You can go to your transportation department or captain and ask them and just say, I would love to use a Big Mac.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, James.
You're very welcome. I appreciate it.
Today, I'm speaking with Kevin Wasner, the guy who has probably done more zombie makeups than almost anyone else on the planet. We chat about his work on The Walking Dead, having the opportunity to work with some of his makeup effects idols, and working in the workshop versus on set.
Pictures up.
Last looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks podcast, Kevin.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Awesome. Now, I would like you to finish this sentence for me, okay?
All right, I'll try.
Once upon a time, there was a boy named Kevin, and when he grew up, he wanted to be...
Fireman. No, I wanted to be a makeup artist. I knew I wanted to be a makeup artist. I knew quite early on. Actually, that's a lie. I backtracked. I wanted to do something in puppets because I think I was that child of the E.T. era.
Okay.
And, Dark Crystal and all those things. I wanted to do stop motion or something in the puppet world. And of course, it kind of just led into makeup. But I always wanted to do it. I was practicing this stuff when I was like 15. That's when I really started going down. I used to take the bus to Seattle, and there was like one shop because, nothing really in Seattle for this stuff. But there was one shop that was right in Pike Place Market. And there was like this little upstairs, and they sold like, crappy bottles of foam latex and stuff. And I just went there like every weekend. That's where I got my start, really. Just playing around. It was more of a hobby.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, maybe I can do this,
Yeah, I think it's when you come to that realization of like, hang on, people actually do this for a job.
This could be a career. Wow.
Yeah. So you must have been a big movie watcher then.
I was a big movie watcher for sure. Oh, yeah.
And you said E.T. What other kind of movies were sticking out to you at that point that you were like,
oh my gosh. All those are Evil Deads and the horror movies, of course, that I loved when I was a kid. But The Thing, of course, changed my life. And in American Werewolf in London, I remember vividly, like when that came out first time on VHS, my parents rented it. And of course, this is like 1983 or whatever. And I was too young to watch it. They were really strict with me watching this, and maybe that's why it evolved into a fascination. But But they called me from my bedroom, like, hey, you got to see this scene. And they let me just watch the transformation scene. And I remember that. Yeah. And I was like, what? This is the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. And he's like, okay, now go back to your room. You can't watch anymore. So the fascination always, that might have been the catalyst, honestly. That might have been the moment. Yeah. So, that movie, it was the movie that really kind of nudged me in that world for sure.
That's very cool. Yeah. And when you were going to Seattle and going to that shop and buying stuff, was that more to make stop motion stuff and puppets, or was it actual makeup?
Oh my gosh, that was literally like, those are the days where like, stippling on latex on your elbow and then rolling it up and throwing some blood on it and scaring your mom,
Okay.
That kind of stuff. But I was doing a little sculpting. I was trying to make like stop motion puppets. And I was getting all those magazines like Cinefantastique and Fangora and Corzo and all those things. And they have the little how-to, sections. And I was like, oh, I got to make a mechanical hand and stuff like that.
My goodness.
And,
that's so cool.
and luckily, when I was in high school, and I was still kind of like dabbling and stuff with this, I met Christian Tinsley. We went to the same high school. And some guy was like, hey, there's this other guy that does this crap, Hey, oh, okay. So, but so we ended up getting a little shop together, and we practiced on each other. So we kind of like inspired each other, like, hey, let's keep going and doing this stuff. And strangely enough, we eventually moved out here together. And that's how we started. It's interesting.
That's awesome to have that buddy in crime to kind of
totally
bounce off each other and get excited. And what do you mean you had a little workshop? Like, were you in one of your guys' garages or something?
Kinda. There was this place. Actually, Christian worked at this place, and I think he got the job just because of the name of the company, which is hilarious. Is Foam Rubber City. and it sounds like awesome, but it was literally an upholstery shop, So he talked the owners into they had like a little extra space out behind this shop, and he convinced them to rent out space to us so we could practice. And it was Christian, and there's another fellow we met from Seattle named Damon Bard, who also he's got a very successful career. And he's an amazing sculptor. And we all three of us just rented out this space, and whatever our part-time jobs in high school and stuff, we'd all end up there in the evenings. And I had a lot of good memories, just the three of us, just, tooling around in Foam Rubber City, making and practicing on each other, failing. Yeah, it was awesome.
Working it out, trying to work stuff out, right?
Absolutely. Because back in the day, we didn't have YouTube and podcasts and things to listen to understand what it was. So it was like you really had to search for this stuff. You had to. It was like gold when finding a little nugget of how to. It was amazing.
That's cool. Would you then when you had those favorite films and stuff with those specific creatures, would you kind of pause on them and try and figure out how stuff was done, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think back then it was always about the edit, and which I kind of like. Now it's just like, oh, we'll just CG together and kind of puzzle piece. So, but then it was always, you could tell they kind of storyboarded the, outcome, and then they figured it out piece by piece on how they can cut into I always tried to figure out how they did it. And, that's kind of the magic of it. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So then you guys you decide to move down to LA.
Yeah.
How old were you then?
Oh gosh, I was 21, I think, 22.
Okay. It's a good age.
Something like that. Yeah. Strangely enough, we started in like Sacramento or in the Bay Area also. And there was like a haunted house company that Christian was like, hey man, there's a real gig, So I'm like, oh my gosh. So we went out and worked in a haunted house company for a year together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, which was kind of fun. It was really fun. And so this guy was dumb enough to give us money and, work year round to build haunted houses, which is awesome. So, and I think eventually we just, you're like, hey, we got to make the next move to Southern California and make that move. Yeah.
And then what happens when you get to LA?
My first job in LA was working for Mark Rappaport, which is a Creature Effects company. And it was for the Tool music video.
What?
And yeah.
Shut up.
That was my first gig. And of course I was like, and I got a call back from Mark. And of course, I did I sent out my portfolio to everyone, it was nothing of a portfolio. So I was just happy enough to be working anywhere. And he called, have you heard of a band called Tool? I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Would you like to work in a music video? Oh yeah. So my first job was it was just making molds on, for some of the stop motion puppets and actually building some of the sets and the props. And it was a lot of fun. It was a good way to step in, it was jumping into music videos. It was cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And just with someone who has that crazy vision of, just their imagery is so full on.
Oh, it is. And I would always add Adam Jones, who coincidentally was a makeup effects guy at one point. I would always ask him, like, what's this video about? And he'd just stare at me like, what? Don't ask that. Because I don't think he
what
really
do you
had
mean?
an
What's
answer.
it about? It's not about anything.
It's not about anything. It's just a visual. Shut up, kid.
Yeah. So what was that? What was that music video? What was the song?
It's an Anima.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was, which is great. And I just recently went to their concert and they played that video on the background. I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
I saw that. That's awesome. And then what happens from there?
From there, I worked at Mark's for about a year and a half, I think,
Okay.
doing a bunch of like little low budget full moon movies, Puppet Master, whatever, 20. And, and I think I jumped around a lot of shops. I think I worked at Tom Berman's for a moment, and I landed at Neotech, which is this prop company. And I was there for a little while. And they were kind of good because they were looking for an outside perspective on makeup effects. And for some reason, I think we were working on Armageddon, and then it trailed into a supernova. So they were looking for people who knew how to do like rubber work, and they were doing all the gaskets between all the helmets and the suits and stuff. Yeah. So I was there kind of to be their guy for that. And that trailed into Fight Club, which was like, that was the film for working there. I loved working on that one. That was fun.
Yeah. What were you doing? So that was art department stuff?
It was a prop.
So making props.
Yeah, making props. Yeah, like I helped make the little bar soap that says Fight Club on it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. And then they had the bags of fat that they toss over the fence. And we made all sorts
just creeps me out.
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Pretty gross. But it was fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. I see, because I was looking at your IMDb and I'm just like, there's art department, there's actor, there's special effects. I'm like, geez, Kevin gets around. He's been doing it all.
A little bit of everything. I'll do whatever.
That's awesome. But I also, what stuck out to me was prop maker for The Cell. Now,
The Cell, yeah. There was a lot of little things. There was tools, like some of the torture tools that were basically they were meant to look like seahorse pattern, if I remember. I mean, this is so many years ago. And there was like an intestine puller that I made, like this little wind up thing. It was some really gross stuff.
That film visually is disturbing as hell. Yeah. So that's why I was just like, it caught my attention. Yeah. But I was wondering, did that workshop have anything to do with the horse?
The horse,
do you remember that?
I don't think so.
Okay, because that image is stuck with me. I can tell you that much.
No, there was like a bleaching tank that we built.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember. I remember I made a collar. There was 2 different like neck collars for Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah.
And I built on there's like a rough one, and then there's like a really beautiful one. I made the rough one. So it's so that was fun. There was so much stuff on that. The one thing about working at that prop company was that there would be like literally 10 movies going on at the same. There'd be like a board with all these movies going on, and half the time I didn't know what they were. Yeah. So they would churn out stuff. So it's a totally different world. I remember at one point they were like, "Here, work on this gun," and I'm like aging a gun, and then I go and see the movie The Mexican, and it was the whole movie was the Mexican was the gun from The Mexican. And I remember like standing like, "Hey, that's a thing I worked on. That's crazy." But they were just churn out stuff so fast. It was insane. So that was kind of fun thing to do. But I think as I was there, I was like, I need to get back to what I came out here for, which was, makeup. So I finally had to, leave that company. And, and then I think I jumped right into like SPFX and, bounced around a lot of shop bouncing around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And then were you going on set at any point during that? Or was that
a little bit? Yeah. I went on set when I was at the prop company, if it was needed, but most of the time it was sent out and you never saw it again.
Right.
But I did get to go on set for Fight Club a little bit. And,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. There was and a few other shops, but the smaller shops, I was on set all the time because, as you know, in smaller shops, it's like you carry things all the way through and then you go to set with it. Whereas like when I was at Cinovation, you get departmentalized. You're in the mold shop, you're in the mold shop. You're in the foam room, you're in the foam room. You're in this room, So yeah, it took a little while, and I think I was yearning. I'm like, okay, I like being in the shop, but I do like seeing how it is on set, and I like the control of how the end product is going to be on set. So that's
the goal of
where I was yearning. That was the yearning, and I think anybody that's in the shop would say that too. They're like, I want to get out of here,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the truth, but yeah.
Well, no, I think you may even get to that point too, where if you're just on set all the time, you might be like, man, I just want to see a makeup through from start to finish.
Totally. Like, absolutely.
How often now do you get to start with the sculpt and go all the way through to applying it and looking after it on set. I mean, everything's
that now is more of I've been at K&B for the last 14, 15 years or something like that, and I got to the point where I would be able to sculpt the makeup and watch it and then carry it on to set, which I preferred to do because I can only answer to myself if it doesn't work, but the edge is not in the right spot, So, and it's my own fault. So, it's, I think all of us are a little bit of control freaks when it comes to that, because when sometimes you open up a box and you see something and you're like, this is fantastic. And then you put it on and it doesn't quite work. So it's, yeah.
So it's nice to be able to have that control from the beginning. But also I think it's just it's satisfying to just be like, I did this from start to finish.
And it's your baby, It's it's cool. You have a little more pride in it for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. So while you're coming up through all of this and making these little changes to get to where you're wanting to be, at any point was there like a single piece of advice that you received from somebody that really stuck with you?
I think the biggest one was going into being on set and the confusion of when you first start working on set on a frequent basis, I think would just be really communicative with the AD department. And that is something I still, know when to go in and when to go out when you're doing your last looks and things like that. But if something's going to take a little longer than a last look, let them know and let them know the problem. So they just need to be informed at all times,
Yeah.
Which I see a lot of times where like, ooh, there's an edge there. And they're like, I don't know what to do. And people panic. And I'm like, just got to let them know, it's just going to be this. And if it can't, then you're just letting them know that there's a situation,
Yeah.
But communication is really important, That's the one thing it's stuck with me for sure.
Absolutely. Because it can, there's no point in freaking out about something and just like say something and they'll be like, go, you've got 10 minutes, sort it out.
Yeah. And if you don't have 10 minutes, then they know, hey, okay, we might have to fix this in post. And this time is more important than the minute you will take to fix it. So, yeah. So looking at your incredible resume, you did some traveling overseas as well for some of these films. You did some location stuff. Quite a bit actually, but early on, quite a bit. I'd say my favorite was Passion of the Christ. That was I mean, it's a long stint in Italy.
Oh wow!
All over Italy, and it was beautiful. The people were beautiful. The film was really challenging. It was the hardest job I've ever had to do, but most rewarding.
Oh my goodness. Normally that's how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd hate for someone to say it was the most challenging and I hated the end result. That would suck. But luckily you don't hear it that often. So, So how long were you in Italy?
I think it was just over 5 months or close to maybe over 6, something like that. And
that's a good chunk of time.
It was a good chunk of time. That was a good one. And I think off and on, I was over in Prague I did like 3 films in a row in Prague. So I was there
I love Prague.
A little over a year. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I think when I've only been there once and it was for just like 10 weeks, I think I was there.
Yeah.
But I remember saying to you and Kieran that I was going over and you guys were just like, we love Prague.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I met Karen. So yeah, a lot of good things came out of Prague.
It's an awesome city to hang out in.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a minute. Because I remember talking to you at one point about Hostel, where you went on set for that. That was over in Eastern Europe somewhere, right?
That was in Prague. That was Prague. Yeah, I did Hostel 1 and 2 there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting. That first Hostel movie was really fun, but it was pretty difficult because I was by myself for the show. And so a lot of it, I mean, and you're in Prague, so there's not like any makeup stores or, anything like that. So a lot of this stuff I just had to come up with on the fly. So it was what it was. A lot of in that movie, I was like, this is some little horror movie. No one's ever going to see it. Oh my God. And then opening weekend was like 90 million people. I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a panic attack opening weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
I was down in little old New Zealand watching it. I was like, this shit's messed up. This is awesome.
That was a time.
Well, I mean, that's what you got to do. You've got to have a pretty big hat and you've got to pull things out of it sometimes and just be like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best and walk away.
Yeah. It was pretty much that. It was all out of hat stuff. Yeah, for sure. But it was cool. I was very thankful to be on that one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've done quite a bit of gore stuff, haven't you?
Yeah. It's kind of what, I worked at K&B for quite a while, and they are the kind of go-to guys for doing some horror movies. They're,
okay.
They're masters at it. So yeah, I did a string of horror movies, one after another. It seemed like I did the Hostel 1, 2, and Hills of Eyes, and
there's a bit of Grindhouse and Chainsaw.
Grindhouse. Yeah, Grindhouse is fun.
Planet Terror.
Yeah. Yeah, those were fun ones. Yeah.
That's awesome. So throughout this, you're not in the union, are you? So
yeah, no, I wasn't.
I'm sure that's grinding your gears a little bit to be able to be on set and follow things through like you like to.
Yeah. At the time, I mean, this was all most of it was shooting in Europe or overseas. And so it was kind of fun and stuff, but it was painful because none of those hours I could acquire to gain my, my union status. So I'd come back and I'd be like, work 3 years in a row on stuff in Europe. And then like, oh, I'm never going to get in the union. This is insane. And of course, you work in right to work states, and then you have all those loopholes of working in right to work states so that you're technically not supposed to be working there. So your hours aren't accounted for as well. Yeah. Yeah. It took a long time. Finally got in. I'm very thankful to be in for sure. And it's definitely changed things now. It's brought me to the world of day checking, and which is
that's cool. So you have a bit more of a variety of jobs and stuff too, right? Yeah,
and I like that. I like you coming in and like, what do you need? What do you got? All right, cool, let's do it. In and out, it's fun. Yeah,
that's awesome. I feel like that takes a certain type of person, because that causes me anxiety, and I know. And I know I probably shouldn't admit that, but
no, it's true. It did for me at first. But now it's like there's, you can only be as good of what they supply you and what you can do and this and that. And I've never had, touch wood, I haven't had the situation where I come in and it's just not worked out at all, because it's fine. It's usually great.
I mean, you probably know most of the people that you're coming in to help out, right?
Sometimes, yeah. I've had a few where I had no idea who the people were.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's always interesting because, as you know, when you go in, you got to kind of learn personalities a little bit. And so, I just go in and just be kind and do your job and make sure you're clean. And
I think it just comes with experience, I think, and confidence that just know you can rock in and do what needs to happen. And I always feel like it's the first day of school every day. Like I'm just like, there's new people, there's new stuff. It's not my set. It's but I get over it pretty quickly. But it's just that first little half hour in the morning of anxiety that I just drives me.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah.
So what was the job that you were on that got into the union? Was it The Walking Dead that you were doing?
It was The Walking Dead. It was The Walking Dead. Yeah. And it was season 2 of The Walking Dead. That was on season 1. It's a long story there, but basically.
It always is.
Everyone's got the getting in the union story, but I got in on season 2. And but I was on season 1. So yeah, it was The Walking Dead that I got on. And I've been on that. I was on that show for 9 years. So that big chunk of my career. Strangely, it was 9 years is a long time.
It's amazing because I mean, it was an international phenomenon. Like, so working on that, when you first went in, did you have any idea that it was going to turn into what it did?
No, not at all. I had good vibes about it, to be honest. But it's kind of a careful what you wish for thing, because I was always like, I want to do a zombie makeup. I've never done a zombie makeup. And then 9 years later, I'd be like, I don't want to do anything else than a zombie makeup.
I was going to say, are you like zombied out?
No, but it was... it was really cool, like the first season, and you know how you always get the looky-loos coming up. I'm like, what is this? We're Walking Dead. I never heard of it. And it was cut to 3 years later, there would be literally 300-400 people standing outside the set looking to get autographed. I've never experienced anything like The Walking Dead. It was, people would just be waiting outside down the block. And I remember Karen got on the crew, and she got creeped out a few times. We'd be driving by and people yell out my name. She goes, "How do people know who you are? Like, what the heck is this?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really kind of bizarre to see the growing of it. But it was, I mean, that'll always be like a part of my life, that show, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about it earlier and I was just like, God, Kevin has probably done more zombie makeups than anybody else that I know on the planet.
Maybe.
Do you know what I mean?
I've tried to do the math before, and they're like the average zombie per episode, and I've done over 100 episodes, something like 100, and I don't know, I think 120 episodes or something like that.
Yeah.
And go figure, probably 10, 15 zombies per episode, you know. So yeah.
Oh my God. That is crazy. Yeah. So within that, how do you keep, because you guys had a zombie look. Obviously, it was established and worked out in that first season kind of thing. But then you have these featured zombies that are coming through. How do you just keep that fresh? And that's a stupid word to use when I'm saying zombies. Greg was really specific the first season. He was always come up and going, "Hey, it's the first season. They should look kind of like emaciated and this and that and color." But each season, I don't know if it was kind of an unspoken thing, but we always went a little further, and then they, they got to the point where, of course, none of them had lips and stuff. So by the last season, I wasn't on the season 10, but I know that, it's just like they don't have skin anymore. They're like gone. And they've explored every option of how to make a zombie at this point. It was a big creative team pool. Basically, everyone shot in ideas, and everyone kind of bit off each other. And it was very kind of fun. Actually, a lot of people are like, "Are you tired of the zombie makeups?" And I go, no. Actually, it's kind of fun because each time was like Mr. Potato Head, We had a wall of appliances. I think we had like over 200 and something appliances that you kind of go over, and it was all organized, and you just kind of, there's a nose, there's a chin, there's a face, there's a forehead. And then we kind of just look at the performer, and we knew which pieces worked best for each performer. So you're building a zombie.
Yeah, it was totally Mr. Potato Head. It was like, okay, there it is. That's done. That's good. Moving out, So, and we got down really fast. We tried to get them down to 1.5 to 2 hours. And that's like bald cap, false teeth, forehead. It was, laying hair and anything, everything. So we all became machines at making these zombies and kicking them out. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So when you've got the real featured ones that have something weird going on that's a little different than others, how much input did you have in the middle of all of that kind of character design?
Yeah, quite a bit, actually. Yeah. There'd be the script that we'd start with, and then Greg would always come and say, this is the idea that we have. And then we put in our input for sure. And it was always something. It was always written in the script. And a lot of times we'd always laugh because it would be written in the script, and then we'd put it, it would be very specific in the script. And then on the day they'd be like, "All right, there's stab it in the head," and it'll fall on the ground. And we're like, "Okay, moving on." We're like, "Oh, okay, I guess there it is." But
so they were happy with it then.
I guess they liked it. Yeah. The process was always like the guys in the shop would sculpt the pieces. If we were on set, if not, be involved in the first few episodes, because they usually kind of an outline of scripts, and then we kind of know where we're going to go with that season. So we create a bunch of new pieces. And if there was any specific zombies, we build those at the shop. And the guys, the sculptors at the K&B would come up with these sculpts and ship them out. And
that's very cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
So throughout that time, were there any, did you guys throw in any kind of like tributes to iconic zombies of
all the time.
Times gone by? Yeah.
All the time. And it was, to be honest, I think we did it for us in the beginning, and then fans started finding them.
Oh.
And then it became almost like, okay, now what one we got to do? And it almost got to the point where like, okay, now it's too much. So, but yeah, we did every iconic zombie from any Romero, anything, And then there were some that weren't even zombies, like just from like Night of the Comet, like really obscure ones that we just throw in. And it was just for us, really a lot of the times.
But that's so cool. Like you're keeping yourself within this, like 9 seasons, 10 seasons of doing this. You're kind of keeping it fun, keeping the challenges coming in, trying different stuff. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
We had so much fun on that. And I love all those guys. They were like big family, and Greg had so much fun with coming up with that stuff, I have to say. And sometimes he wouldn't even let us know. We'd open up boxes and we're like, oh, here's a, American Werewolf in London Jack puppet. Awesome. This is really cool. And so we slipped that in there. We did all sorts of stuff. I think we put the Creepshow crate in there at one point, and some Raiders of the Lost Ark references. And Greg was always coming up with great ones, like a license plate that was from Jaws, the one they pulled out of the belly of the shark.
Yeah.
And some ones that people didn't pick up on. So there's all sorts of little things. But I think like I said, I felt like it was more for us because we were just having fun, and then it just got picked up on.
Yeah, but it's awesome that it was in an environment where you felt like you could do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very cool.
Very friendly, very fun, very light. It was fun.
Yeah, that's nice. So going from fun to talking about the humidity that is in Atlanta and the heat. Oh my gosh. How was that challenge with all those makeups?
That was the worst part, to be honest. Yeah. And the environments that we were in a lot of the times. And I'm a kid that grew up in Seattle in the woods and stuff, but their woods are totally different thing, So it's that humidity. And a lot of the times we get done, we do waves of makeups, and then we'd send people out to watch the makeups. And I'd be on my 3rd makeup, and I go out and see my first makeup completely falling off. And it's kind of like, we just got used to it. I mean, we used strong glue,
Yeah.
Yeah, we used strong glue, and we kind of learned it. After a while, we kind of knew all our act performers and what glue to use with each performer. But it was just we knew what it was, and we had to constantly watch that sweat because zombies don't sweat, right? So
yeah, just be on top of it.
They're just dripping sweat. Oh no.
Yeah, and a bit of trial and error, as you say, working out with your performers what works better for them and what doesn't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone's skin type's a little different. You find that person where the glue is sticks a little too hard on, and we just figured out their skin types for sure.
So I'm assuming long days with cleanup as well.
Yeah. I think at the beginning of the first couple seasons, we had actually had more times with the zombies, but I think we got smarter, and Greg worked out this great way of like, okay, any scenes with big zombie numbers, they would always have something to shoot before that. So we'd have a little extra room. Otherwise we'd be there, ridiculous hours every day. So they kind of worked around the makeups a little bit, which was nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yay for scheduling to help out makeup. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's going to help them out in the long run, I'm sure. But
yeah, it did help them out in the long run. Sure. Financially too, I'm sure. Yeah.
And you got 2 Emmys working on that show, so that's pretty freaking cool.
That is cool. And I never, honestly, I'm not a trophy chaser. I've never got into this didn't even come in my radar that could even happen. So it's such a neat little nod to have an Emmy. It was pretty cool.
It's very cool. Have an Emmy. You've got 2, buddy. Come on now.
All right, 2. Yeah.
She needed a friend.
Yeah, right. They're friends.
That's very cool. So after all these years of working with zombies, I have to ask, do you have a plan of attack for the zombie apocalypse?
No, none at all.
Was that not a conversation that came up often? Or
it was. My plan was just find an island. I don't understand these people. We're running around in the cities and I just go, all right, just find an island and, check out. That's what I do.
You know what? I used to think the same thing when I was living in Wellington back in New Zealand, and there was a reasonably large island off the coast. And I was like, if that's got fresh water, that's it.
That's it. There it is. Totally.
But then I remember seeing, oh man, I can't remember which film it was. One of the zombie films. And they walked into the water and came out like the other side of the river.
Oh, you know what? You're right. And then the movie Zombie, which is, I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. It is a classic Lucio Fulci film. They have a zombie that walks underwater and it gets in a fight with a shark. And it's
that's hardcore.
Yeah, and it's a live shark, and it bites his arm off and everything else. It's the best thing ever. It's so great. And then, yeah, you know what? You're right. Maybe you can't escape zombies. That's just it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be all right for a while, but
Yeah.
you still got to keep one eye open, I think.
Yeah, right.
So now that you've done a bunch of workshop work and on-set stuff, what are the differences there? Like, what are the pros and cons? What do you like and I don't know if you dislike anything about them, but what?
I don't dislike either of them. I mean, definitely there's pros and cons for it. But yeah, I mean, the pros to working in the shop, like, is, you get to see things kind of through a little bit. And I do love sculpting and kind of figuring out what it's going to be. And it's kind of a lot of fun. I love designing. I do love designing and being part of that. And I love R&D as well. I love figuring something out that hasn't been done before, or a blood gag that hasn't been done before, or one that has been done before, and try and make it better. But yeah, I really enjoy that aspect of it for sure. And being at home for any period of time, which is nice too, which, the older I get, the more I'm like, I kind of like being home. It's good.
Yeah, I think so. And especially, I mean, you've done your time, I would say, like working in Atlanta for 9 years.
Yeah, and those 7 months out of the year, it was just, in Atlanta.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
How did you handle that? Like, you kept a place in LA and you were...
I had an apartment that I kept year round in Atlanta, and just kept it there. It'd be dormant 5 months out of the year. And then he started really trying on me. And Greg was so generous. He brought Karen on, my wife, who's also an amazing makeup artist. And she's incredible. And she just took right to the root of it. She got the hang of it pretty fast. And so it was great. So we got to live together. And so I had a little piece of home with me, and my dog was there. So it was, being on the road was not so bad. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it makes it a bit easier. And I mean, the good thing about going back each season and going back into the same apartment must have been nice, instead of like figuring it all out again with the And we had our furniture and everything was there. So that first week of coming back when you're trying to settle in, it was easy. It was just all the familiarities of being in Peachtree City, Georgia. I made so many friends there, so many good people there. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the great things about this industry, is just the people that you meet. Like, it's amazing. And think of them as family, because you spend so much freaking time with everybody.
Oh my God, for sure. Yep.
So speaking of your incredibly talented wife, being a makeup artist, what is that dynamic like? Like, that must be pretty awesome, being able to, I don't know, just have that dialogue and chat about.
It is. It's cool to be able to have that in common, so we can, we tell stories back and forth. We can learn off each other quite a bit. And I've learned off her quite a bit. She's great. She's good with a little bit of everything. So it's fantastic. Yeah. So we can, when you go home and you vent, there's somebody that can understand what you're talking about. It's great. And also we never made a rule when we first started getting together. We were like, hey, let's not be that couple that you have to hire one to work with the other and that. So we both want to have very independent careers, but from time to time we do work together, and it's always great. It's fun.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys could take over the world if you wanted to, Kevin.
No, right now.
There's so much talent living under one roof. It's crazy.
We talked about it. Let's open up our own shop. And I don't know if we don't like responsibility like that either.
Well, what about, do you see yourself being in a position at some point of being the head of department on films or jobs or anything like that? Is that an ambition that you would like to, would you like to try that out?
I would like to try it out. I've done it in small scales, but I've never, it's not ever been a motive of mine, actually. I think a lot of times when head of departments, you get that position, and they kind of lose sometimes the involvement in the creative process, and that it's all, of course, the scheduling and all that kind of stuff takes over, which
there's a lot of
paperwork and hiring and letting, all that stuff that I've never really been fond of, to be honest. So
yeah,
I like going in there and doing the makeup. I've always been a kind of a blue collar makeup artist,
That's very cool. Well, I mean, you're about the art. You want to be creative. You want to get your hands into it. You don't have to just be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And tell me this, do you ever do any normal makeup? Like beauty makeups or anything like that?
I have, but it's not something I'm comfortable with. This is something that it's funny. I really need to brush up on it. I could do it, but I'm not comfortable with it. So I need to really just do it all the time to get to that comfortable zone where I can go in and feel confident about doing it. So
yeah,
I don't want to be one of those. Don't want to be one of those makeup effects guys that never does it, But truthfully, it's not what I was passionate about when I got into it either. So I have to find the passion,
Yeah, it's tricky because they're very different ends of the spectrum, aren't they?
They really are, yeah. And I feel I'm constantly working doing makeup effects, so it hasn't arisen as much as I thought it would be. Yeah, it's something I need to do, for sure. More tools the better you are, for sure,
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, if, steady work is coming in for what you specialize in, then that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is, yeah.
Is there a type of makeup that you've obviously done a lot of zombies.
Oh, yeah.
You've done a bit of gore now.
Yeah.
Have you done much in the way of likeness makeups and aging and things like that?
I've done a little bit of aging. I've always wanted to do a likeness makeup. That's kind of on my bucket list makeups to do. I really want to get into doing more character. Yeah, that's something that I got to strive for. I got to do it. I think I might have to do it a little bit more on my own just to perfect it a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's something I want to get to do more. It's easy to get pigeonholed into doing, you're the zombie guy, which I get all the time. I go on set, you can do something else on a zombie, or you're going to do something else in gore. And I go, I could do other things, So I need to just, broaden my horizon for sure with that stuff. But it's something I know I can do, but I have to earn the confidence of others to let me do.
Yeah, that's cool. I think what you're saying about just doing it as a side little passion project is pretty cool, because then you'll have that control of doing the sculpt and seeing it through to the end.
Yeah.
So you can work out those little how you like it and how you don't like it and all that type of stuff.
Exactly. What works, what doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are two different ends of the spectrum. Or as an outsider, I don't know, because I obviously have not done aging makeup and I have not done, a creature or gore or anything like that. But I imagine doing a delicate aging makeup or likeness makeup compared to creating a creature.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite different, right?
Very much so. Because creatures are sometimes you got to think kind of layers of colors and it's very much more broad strokes. The finessing of doing a realistic makeup could be lost on a lot of guys who do creature stuff, because they'll do their spatter too big, or they kind of look kind of like a makeup, in the end, So I think it's just something that comes with time, you got to draw it back a little bit, a lot of it.
To be able to have a bit more of a delicate touch.
Exactly.
That's very cool. I love it when I'm watching something and I don't realize that they have appliances on, because they're so subtle and beautifully done that you're just like, what? Oh, they've got a nose on? Oh, I had no idea.
That's
just
my
those
favorite.
little.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing.
And it's happened to me many times. They're like, oh, I didn't even know he had a nose tip on. That's fantastic. That's good. I did some makeup sculpt I didn't apply it. Dave DePuy applied it, but I sculpted these pieces for Gary Oldman for the Book of Eli movie.
Oh, cool.
And it was just bad acne skin. It was just transfers. Mm-hmm. And there was 9 pieces to it. And it took a couple, tries to get it right. And, but it was the biggest compliment ever. I was walking out of the movie theater and I overheard someone walking out. I'm like, I didn't realize Gary Oldman had such bad skin. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good.
That's awesome.
Dave knocked it out of the park on that. It was fantastic. Yeah.
I feel like I could have actually been that person. I probably would have been like, what? I didn't know his skin was that bad. I don't remember seeing it like that before.
Yeah.
That's very cool. He's a great face to transform, though. He really goes. He's done.
That guy loves it. He loves it. It wasn't even scripted that to have that. He just thought, oh, this character should have bad skin, and that's what he wanted. So he got production to pay for bad skin.
That's very cool.
He loves wearing the makeup. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just so much more of a collaborative situation when an actor wants to really lean into something like that and has those ideas, like, and wants to do it and is willing to sit there and have it done and wear it and look after it throughout the day and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome.
It is awesome. Other than the guy sitting in the chair rolling his eyes like, how much longer? No. Yeah. They're passionate about it. It's nice. It's nice.
It is. I think they have more respect for your craft as well, I think, when they
do. Yeah.
Give you that time, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask you, what is one tool or product you would not like to work without? Now I know there's a lot because you have like a million favorite things, but I want you to just choose one.
Oh gosh, it's funny enough. Lately, it's been opsite tape. Opsite tape. I use it on everything, and it could be used in so many different ways. I love it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, if I had a second, it would be this Mac palette that I'm really kind of liking lately.
You're just smashing it.
Yeah. It's like a paint stick palette that I love. It's primary colors and
cool.
Yeah, and I've been falling in love with that.
That's
but opsite tape, I don't think I could go on a set without that now. It's makeup artist duct tape is what it is.
Here, I'll just fix it with a little bit of this.
Well, this edge is coming up. It's from opsite. There it is. All right, done. Move on. So
that's very cool. So what are some of the stuff that you've worked on lately over the last year?
This last year, like I said, I've been doing a lot of day checking. But I played with Brian Sipe over on Mandalorian a little bit. And
very cool.
Yeah.
Were you a Star Wars fan?
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally.
Okay, so that's pretty cool.
I was geeking out the whole time. Of course, I can't talk about any of it, but it's it was cool. I did a bit of Orville.
Oh, cool.
Yep, and then I was working on a show for K&B this last year called Jupiter's Legacy, which was a lot of fun too. So that was a Netflix show, as in up and coming. So yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, and Space Jam 2.
Yeah, how many years later? When was the first
right? Space Jam 2. So that was heaps of fun too. That's fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, so you did some stuff on Legion as well. You went in and helped out on that.
I did a little bit on Legion. Yeah, there was Aubrey Plaza. Mm-hmm. It's the end of her demise. Spoiler, sorry, but she cuts her throat and she's bleeding. So I did a neck gag for her where she bleeds out and dies, and then she turns into this show's so surreal. She turns into this like tree thing. So we glue a bunch of vines on her and she blends into a tree. It was pretty wild. I have to watch the show because it's very surreal set to be on. Everything seemed a little, disconnected and bizarre. And there's these characters that look like blue meanies and that run around. So we did those a couple of days and yeah.
So that's quite a variety right there. I mean, you're going from like a throat cut gag to nature tree and then blue meanies running around. I haven't seen the show, but my husband watches it and I walk in every now and again and we'll just like look at the screen and be like, what is this? What are you watching?
It's pretty surreal. I caught bits of it, but I'm like, I kind of like this. This is really cool. Howard, I know that he loves that show. Those guys are fantastic. And I think we were all sad to see the series end. And this was one of those shows that we're like, can this just go on forever? This is a good show.
That's awesome. Now, if you could choose one person to hear on the podcast, who would that be?
Oh my gosh. The best storyteller in makeup effects is Craig Reardon.
Really?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Okay.
If you do it, be prepared for a 5-hour podcast though.
I don't know if I have the stamina for that. We might have to do it in parts.
He is fantastic, and he's a good storyteller. And I have to say that I'm a massive fan of his work. And he's not shy about telling stories. He's really good. I mean, the guy worked on E.T. for Christ's sake, so I was geeking out on that, and Goonies and all these other movies. Yeah. So,
well, this is the thing. I mean, you come up. You are a fan of these things, you come up and then you get to meet the people that helped create that stuff that you were geeking out over when you were young.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's funny is we work with big actors all the time, but I geek out on that's where I get kind of nervous around. I was like, Craig Reardon, oh my, this guy's done this and this, and so yeah, definitely worked with some of my heroes for sure.
That is so cool. And I wanted to ask, when you're a teenager and you're doing all this stuff and you're having hopes and dreams and knowing what you want to do, and now you're sitting here today, how different has it been than you thought it was going to be? Like, has working in the film industry been everything you'd hoped it would be? Or is it been quite different?
When I thought it would be a bit more fluid when I was a kid. I didn't understand all the steps to it, from design to sculpt to da-da-da. And I thought there would be a bit more input a lot of the times, so there's so many chefs that kind of have to put their 2 cents on something. So that I thought when I was a kid, you'd be more isolated and more involved in each project, But every once in a while you get with a director who just comes out and just shoots ideas off you, and you go, oh yeah, let's just do that. Ooh, all right, cool, and then go in. But hasn't always been like that for sure. But I
feel like the bigger the project too, the more it's departmentalized.
Yeah.
And everyone has their little bit that they do instead of just doing it all from start to finish, right?
Right. Yes. I think the only time that it's ever been where it felt, of course it was only a 3-day shoot, but we did this trailer for the Grindhouse movie called Thanksgiving, which Eli Roth had done. And it was literally like what I thought it would be when I was a kid. And we were just like, it'd be cool, we just shooting. I mean, they had an outline of this, we had a script and an outline, but it felt like, it'd be cool. Let's throw this in and this in. And it was just felt like a bunch of kids having fun with a camera, it was exactly what I thought it would be when I was a kid. I had a lot of fun, but it was I did the 3-day shoot and it was in and out. It was fun though.
That's cool. I mean, if you're lucky enough to be working with a director that's, wants to get in there and had those same kind of loves growing up, because I imagine Eli Roth was probably. Oh
yeah, he's big fanboy like all of us. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So to be able to be like, he'd be like, you guys would be like kids in a candy store together. It's just like, we've got a director, we've got a camera, we've got this, we can, let's do it all.
That's what it felt like. It really did. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's very cool.
It hasn't happened again. I'm looking for that director. I mean, you obviously can't make a movie like that. You got to plan and this and that. But yes, a lot of those ideas that were implemented were just then there on set. We're just like, it'd be funny if we did this. Yeah, they'll shoot it.
Yeah. And that'll happen every now and again, just with, I guess, one gag, right? Just one scene. It'll just be like the director might be like, hang on a minute. Okay, we've shot it how I wanted to shoot it, but let's try something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It happens quite often, actually, if you're on set and it's just like, well, we wanted this, but this might work better. Okay, let's do that. That's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I think you need to be able to just go with the flow, don't you?
Absolutely. And that's something that I try, and that's another piece of advice I give to kids coming into the industry is that a lot of them are very regimented and like, this is where I learned it and this is how it's supposed to be done. And it's like, it's never that. It's always going to be, you got to be able to think on your toes and think way outside the box a lot of the time and don't stress out,
Yeah, don't stress out. I think that one has taken me, not that I'm running around like a headless chicken stressing out, but I have those moments of, when things are out of your hands, like you've done the best that you can do. And then they go and change something or do something, or you're not allowed to step in to fix something, and you're just like, oh.
But I can fix it. I can fix it. No, don't worry about it. We got it. Oh, no.
Yeah.
That'll always happen. That'll always be there. That's always going to be a narrative, yeah.
Totally. But, you grow up and you just realize that, there's nothing I can do about it.
That's a hard part of learning to let go when it's not going the way you want it. And I'm in the same boat. Whereas I used to get really stressed out and pull my hair out when they're not shooting it the way I wanted it or something like that. Or they're not filming it at all a lot of the times. But now I'm just like, that's their movie, And
it's not that you don't care. It's just that not to waste that energy on stressing out about something that you have no control over.
It is. It's exactly that.
That's awesome. Kevin, this has been so awesome catching up with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Yeah.
It's been awesome.
No, thank you.
For links links to see more about our guests, go to our Instagram at The Last Looks Podcast or our website, thelastlookspodcast.com. If you want to keep up with new episodes being released, be sure to subscribe through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, YouTube, or any podcast streaming platform. And remember, if you're enjoying the show, share it. The Last Looks Podcast would like to thank Brett Stanley and Sabrina Castro. The song Fun Time by DJ Quads. Thanks for listening. Until next time.
That's a wrap, people.